All right, let's get everyone seated, shall we? One more minute, chance to grab the seat. Well, ladies and gentlemen, massive thank you for coming to Data Punkers event. Thank you very much. I appreciate this was in extremely harsh weather conditions, so we are super excited to have you here. My job is easy. It's to introduce one man, the person who is inspirational leader, the person who's the founder of Revolt BI, the person who is a podcast world-renowned owner. What you do not know, he's also a European champion in fencing. So fencing is when you take a sword and stab some other person. But he's also a person who loves fast cars, fast data, and great community. I give to you Giuliano Giannetti.
All right. Well, I had a speech prepared, but I definitely have to say that Paul has an incredible imagination. Anyway, welcome you everybody here on the 15th Data Punkers. I'm glad to see so many faces, and I'm glad that you're here. So, what is going to be about? You probably noticed that this has been an incredible year. Like, I've seen so many new product updates from all our technological vendors. The AI race is, of course, on. Some people are happy about it, some people don't. But definitely, regarding Snowflake, I've seen them deliver this year 250 new product features alone. I mean, that's something like totally incredible. I've never seen anything like it during my professional career. And the problem is that when I speak to you, our customers, partners, well, most of you tell me, hey, but we're using it just as an all-up database. And Snowflake here today is much more than that. Just talking about a couple of these features. We have new workspaces. We have a new semantic layer that should help us to interact with it agentically. We have OpenFlow. And with the introduction of the Postgres workload, probably you will be using next year Snowflake to run your production systems. So we decided to make this event today about showing you new features and probably things in Snowflake that you don't know about by, of course, having the best of us. Sorry, guys, but that's you today. And Snowflake's team proper to show you exactly these features, how they're used, and, well, maybe what you could be doing yourselves. But before we start, just a couple of introductory notes. Many of you have already been on this event. This is a community action, so just please do interact. This room is full of talented people. We have several heads of data. We have several, I think there should be 2 CEOs. Today with us, there's the whole Snowflake team with their commercial officer, Adam Wojciechowski, there. So please don't be afraid to interact. And if you need to help with your social anxiety, alcohol is there, yes? And please drink it all, because I don't want to bring it home and run a grocery store after this event, yes? Second, at the end of the lectures, we're going to have a panel discussion with Adam, with the team from Rohlik, and with the team from Sharry. If you have any questions, please scan the QR code. You will get access to Slido. Your questions will be answered. And with that, I think we can come and start the program. So I would like to welcome on stage Rohlik superheroes! Ondřej Hubálek and Vít Gabrhel. So thank you to have you here. I hope that you're ready.
Hi.
Okay, guys, so I'll leave you to it. Give them a bit of an applause.
Hello, everybody. Speaking of alcohol, if you need some, Rohlík is the way where you can order it. Is there anybody who doesn't know what Rohlík is doing? One guy over here. So basically, Rohlík is an online shop where you can buy basically any grocery, food, drugs, and stuff like that. Today, we basically want to talk about how we were actually using Snowflake in the past few years and what big change we did basically at the end of last year and beginning of this year. And it's regarding the Snowflake. So, where were we a year ago? Rohlík operates in 5 countries. We have multiple warehouses. We operate in multiple cities. Basically, in Czech Republic, you can order almost from every part of country. There are some exceptions around the borders, but basically, from any place in Czech Republic you can order. And we daily process about 50,000 orders from our customers. And that means that we have to process a lot of data through our data pipelines. We basically have to process everything from our primary systems, prepare data for reporting, prepare data for machine learning pipelines, prepare data for automations. And for that, we have some SLAs, meaning that, for example, for reporting, we need to have our data ready before 7 a.m. because at 7 a.m. people start their meetings on warehouses, and they need to have the fresh data, and they need to have data from previous days. We have to prepare a lot of data for machine learning pipelines. So we do a lot of forecasts, we do some personalization, some optimization for operations and so on. And for that, again, we need to process a lot of the data. And basically everything goes through Kebula. I guess that a lot of people here knows what Kebula is. So Kebula is an ETL tool. And basically up until now, we were really processing almost everything through it. So all the data, preparation for machine learning and so on, except the machine learning models itself. They are usually trained in AWS on GCP, but everything else goes through Kebula. Down here, a year ago, on this day, I looked at some statistics of actually what we have done in Kebula. So we processed around 15,000 jobs. Yesterday, it was 18,000. And we had a lot of unique configurations, and totally in one day, we basically processed around 600 hours of processing time in one day. And a lot of it is running actually on Snowflake, so a lot of Snowflake transformations. And again, we have I think around 850 unique transformations in Snowflake. So usually some flow of SQL code. And again, this is like 100 hours of runtime in every day. So that's quite a lot. And everything this was powered by Kebula. But the problem that we had was that we had limited access to the Snowflake itself, which is running under the Kebula. So for example, the warehouses in Snowflake, we had limited control over them. So up until now, we couldn't use, for example, extra small warehouse or extra large warehouse because Kebula had some limitations. And we had one very huge technical debt, which is a shame, but that's the reality because in Rohlík, it's all about developing new business features. So sometimes we come into this technical debt. We didn't have proper data types in Kebula. So everything was basically as a varchar, and we had to convert it on the fly as the SQL transformations were run. Which again is like really stupid, but basically we never had time to actually rework it. So that was it. That was a year ago, and we were processing around 50,000 orders per day. And then our management came, and they asked, can we make 500,000 orders per day? And they asked everybody in the company, specifically backend teams, DevOps, and so on, and also us. And we were like, well, we probably can process 500,000 orders per day, but we are not sure. We don't know how much it will cost. And it's possible that we will hit some limits. And at the time, we basically had to make a decision what we will do now. Do we want to continue with Kebula, or do we want to use managed Snowflake, our own managed Snowflake, or some other tool? So Snowflake was the first choice, obviously, because we were already using it under Kebula. Then there was a BigQuery, because whole Rohlík infrastructure is running in Google Cloud. So Google and BigQuery, that's a logical connection. And there was also still the possibility that we will continue with the setup of Kebula, but that was, let's say, not preferred option, and we basically knew that this will not be the winning option. And I don't want this to sound like Kebula is something bad. I actually like Kebula application a lot. And I would recommend it to a lot of use cases. But for our use case, for our size, for our team composition, it was like, well, maybe we will need something more advanced. And so we made some business case, which I will not share, but I will share some considerations that were not actually, let's say, the hard facts, but it was more like how we were thinking about it. So when we were comparing Snowflake and BigQuery, and there was optional that we could switch to BigQuery, it was like, okay, so the both platforms probably are, let's say, similarly powerful. They have the similar performance. Of course, there is a lot of benchmarks, and every benchmark says something different. So we were like, okay, let's say that the both platforms are similar. So now, what are some advantages or disadvantages that, let's say, are more like on the soft side? And with Snowflake, we knew that basically it's something that we already know somehow, so that it's like a very familiar environment for us. We really like the possibility to manage the compute resources, the warehouses. And basically, we could kind of like continue with the current setup, and that was it. For BigQuery, there was a very important thing, how much would our data pipeline cost if we would run it in BigQuery. And we actually had two calculations from Google, and surprisingly, every time they were like 30% cheaper than what we were expecting from Snowflake. The reason for that is that also people from Google knew how much we pay for Snowflake. So if you talk to salespeople, it always ends up like this. So we were like, okay, they say it's going to be 30% cheaper, but we don't trust it that much. We couldn't do like a proper test of all our transformations and actually see how they perform in BigQuery and how it will be costly. So we did some small checks, and we were like, okay, this is probably similar to Snowflake, so let's say that everything would be similar to Snowflake. But there was one big obstacle of using BigQuery, and that would mean like we would need to rewrite all the transformations from Snowflake to BigQuery. And our optimistic approach or optimistic estimation at the first look, it was like, okay, let's say 2 months, and we're done. We will use AI, and it will be okay. And then we had some external partner from Google, and they were like, sorry guys, this is going to be at least 6 months. And these 6 months is actually very optimistic estimation, and only because you are from Rohlík and we know that you can work quickly. But for all other companies, it would be like 9 months, maybe a year. So we were like thinking, okay, so if you would like to change from Snowflake to BigQuery, we'll basically have to sacrifice, let's say, 2 people to the rewrite, even with the help of AI. We would have to make some development freeze, which is basically no-go in Rohlík. And there would be also some opportunity cost, because those two people that would be doing the rewrite of the queries from Snowflake to BigQuery could not do anything useful for business. So obviously, in the end, we choose Snowflake to continue with the Snowflake. That's why we are here. And from the very beginning, there were actually nice quick wins with Snowflake, how to optimize the queries, how to balance the workload, and so on. So the first one was that basically we ran queries directly against Snowflake without Kebula transformations. Who uses Kebula knows that there is some overhead in Kebula. In our case, it's around 20% in the compute time and costs. So basically, you can run the transformation 20% faster directly on top of Snowflake instead of in Kebula. This, of course, varies depending on the transformation. So that's something that we did very quickly. We basically took one of the largest transformations that we had, and where we knew that the overhead of Kebula is really big. We rewrote it into the, let's say, direct queries on top of Snowflake. And we immediately got like, let's say, 1 hour reduction in the runtime, which was really huge. And the second quick win was Gen 2 warehouses. So that's a very nice feature that I like. That basically, it took me like 1 minute to run few alter warehouse commands in Snowflake, and immediately our queries were 2 times faster because the Gen 2 warehouses are basically, let's say, 100% more powerful, yet they cost 30% more. So it's not like that you will save 50% in the cost, but still it makes sense because the queries run faster and you pay slightly more for it. And with on Snowflake, it actually opened nice opportunities to the rest of the company because now we have, I think, maybe 50 users. Oh, even, yeah, okay. So we have 100 users, a lot of them are service users, so let's say I think 50, 60 human users from the company who are actually have access to the Snowflake, can query the data, can do whatever they want. And that's something that what would be very complicated previously with Kebula, because we would have problems with access rights and stuff like that. We have own Snowflake MCP, so basically any agent that we now built in Rohlík can connect to Snowflake and query data. I think generally we have in Rohlík around 60 MCPs now, so and it all can be connected together. We have a data sensei on top of it, which is basically our own agent to query the data and do some smart analytics. We can build semantic layer on top of Snowflake, meaning that now basically we have better opportunities how to describe the data, how to describe the tables, how to describe the columns, and use it as an input for agents, for the MCP servers, or for the data sensei, because now the agents can get actually nice context about the data and are able to actually provide good analytics for the user that doesn't know how to write SQL queries. So that's it. That's my part. Feel free to ask any questions. I think after the session there will be some questions, and now I will hand over to Vítek, who will basically say more about the technical stuff that we experience with Snowflake.
Thank you very much, Ondra, for beautifully summarizing the business case and the reasoning behind it. I will have the pleasure to walk you through the nitty-gritty and small details for you to perhaps get a glimpse at what we considered and potentially to make your own decisions based on your situation, because as you can see, the stack might differ and the situation for you as well, but we thought it might be useful for you to get some glimpse into what we considered. So the first part was, and this is really important to realize if you are into specific features, what's the distribution of, let's say, customers of Snowflake per different clouds. And this information, although it's anecdotal, it was shared with us from Michal Smaga, who's, I'm not sure if he's here, but at one of the April meetups from Snowflake. So you can think of it in a way that if there is certain feature related to Cortex AI, it will be likely deployed at AWS first. In our situation, we migrated from, let's say, Snowflake being hosted at AWS to the GCP, which included its own challenges. And you can always use this cross-inference or cross-region inference feature in Snowflake if you, for some reason, need to deploy Snowflake at GCP, for example. So you will not be robbed of the opportunity to leverage the features. But it's important to know that it can add some costs. So this is one criteria to consider. As for our specific situation, as Ondra has already mentioned, we were migrating within Kebula from one stack, from AWS to GCP, and here you will, if you are in the same situation, get a full support from the Kebula team in terms of providing you with the setup and the support, but it doesn't mean that you should be the passive passenger, and you can also discuss like what's the priority for you, because there are some technical criteria. For example, migrating some tables, some configurations, some projects, due to their volume, due to the number of configurations and the sizes of tables, it might make more sense to begin with them, but for your day-to-day business operations, it might be better to start with something that is bigger and perhaps follow then with something that is technically more easily done, but it has perhaps less business impact. So Kebula can support you with the components. I believe this presentation will be handed over to you as well, so you can take a look at the links and go through the code and go through the documentation. Lastly, I want to ask how many of you use Tableau here? Okay, so thank you. The note that I'm going to make is in general, but for Tableau it perhaps is even more important. I would begin any kind of this migration by cleaning up in terms of removing the number of configurations, the tables and so forth, because it would eventually cause less of a headache to you. And as for Tableau, there are some specifics. So at Rohlík, during the time, the development was kind of wild in a way that the data types or the, let's say, data sources were created as export, but also live, embedded in worksheets. And Tableau isn't really flexible in terms of programmatically changing things like paths to your tables. And it might be a bit difficult to really change the source from one database to another without breaking stuff. And if you have hundreds of people depending on things that they see in Tableau, you don't really want to be in a position of explaining to them why they are not able to see their regular reports and why the logins don't work anymore and so forth. So that being said, even though that you, I believe, would try to prepare as much as possible, things will inevitably break. So it's important really to communicate this in advance and prepare everyone for this to be happening. As for the Snowflake itself, we were in a position of choosing between using the one account to which the Kebula stack was migrated to, and having another dedicated account. And here you can think of it in a way, if you want to have everything in one place, because it might be easier for you to really communicate between different databases, or you can have this, let's say, two clear distinction between individual accounts, sorry, because Snowflake allows it, but be aware that migrating or moving data, again, can add some extra cost. One important thing, if you decide to work within the same environment, same account, you really should never try to write to anything to the Kebula objects, because then you will break the whole system. And it is possible to get it back if you revoke the rights, but you don't, again, really want to be in a position of seeing not anything working as it should. So don't write anything to the Kebula objects.
Sorry to interrupt. Rohlík Heroes actually broke this 3 times in like first month. I did it on the first day when we migrated. I think Vítek did it like the next week, and then one colleague who was new, he actually did it like a month later because we didn't told him that he should not do anything with the Kebula objects. So this is something that you should definitely write somewhere with the like red letters and big red letters that this is something that you should not do, because it's very easy when you have account admin in Snowflake to do it, but it can really break basically everything in Kebula. So be aware.
Which is a nice bridge towards access and roles management, which was opened for us by leveraging Snowflake fully, because we were able to really set up the granularity as we needed. I believe that many of us have already been exposed to different classification of roles, like the functional ones, for example, analyst or ML engineer and so forth. So in our case, we were not sure how should we structure the roles, because there are different use cases, different people from different parts of the company, the technical ones, more business ones, would like to use the data. So we decided to go, let's say, bottom up, and only then try to create some abstractions to manage it more effectively. Yeah, what's perhaps most important thing for us, if you are in a position of running something on top of Snowflake, never forget that ownership is always allocated to a single role creating the object. So if you, for example, create some object based on the account admin rights, and you have a user that runs pipelines regularly and tries to create or replace some object, it will fail and the pipeline will break. And again, this is something you don't want to experience. Speaking of the, let's say, roles and user management, what really helped us is an automation. We use Okta, but you can think of any basically single sign-on management tool to really open the platform and to effectively manage your users, because they can simply log via, for example, in our case, the Google single sign-on, and we have an automated procedure running on top of Snowflake, which is serverless, something that I will get to in a minute. And it regularly checks if this certain user has the role allocated, which is, again, defined in terms of what kind of access this specific user should have. So you don't need to be in a position of manually creating the users and manually adding them certain roles. Again, it freezes your space a lot. And at this moment, as we briefly discussed, we have something like close to 100 users. Of course, many of them are service ones, but pretty much anyone within the company can access Snowflake. It can be not just analytical people, but from business, and query the data if needed, or you use some of the abstractions that we have, be that the Data Sensei or MCP server, for example, and hopefully soon Slack integration as well. Speaking of the serverless functions, this is something that I wanted to point out too. Our host, Giuliano, is, among other things, also a author, and he's not the only one in the space of trying to, let's say, spreading the knowledge about functions that are useful and features. And quite recently, there was an article published on the Medium that tried to explain like what are these serverless functions. And basically, in comparison, for example, to the Databricks, you don't need to pay for at least 1 minute of the processing time, and you can leverage this serverless function, which can, if you run some functions, be that alerting or allocating the roles on a regular basis, it can mean a difference in terms of hundreds of dollars, for example, per year. So this is something to explore if you want to use something running regularly on top of Snowflake. Highly recommended. Currently, what we use is basically moving away from the Kebula transformations to the query runner, which is a component developed again by Kebula, which is a lightweight version of the transformation in terms of you connect to the database, but you don't need to spin a container containing a dedicated environment with all of the loaded tables. It's basically running on top of your data in Snowflake. So it's much faster. You don't need to do any input or output mappings. But going forward, we would like to leverage Apache Airflow, which is deployed at GCP as the Cloud Composer, as its nickname or name for it at GCP. And this step, I would like to stress out, it's not motivated by, let's say, CV-driven engineering, but it's really the goal of opening up the code base to the whole company, because as we try to integrate different kinds of the company via AI tools, having the code base exposed and shared with different teams, it could be also developers, it's important to really have it open. And this is exactly the goal of using such a tool as Airflow. So currently we are moving the transformations, but of course we can think of extractors and writers as the next step, because a lot of these are already developed, and if it has an API interface, you can use request library and it's possible to leverage it. And of course, I realized that when it comes to the pricing, this is not something that is easily comparable, because you can negotiate different contracts and so forth. But for the instance of this size, this is the price per day for the composer itself. There are some additional costs like monitoring and logging and so on. But as you can see, it's something that even for the experiments, it's negotiable with the stakeholders. Finally, I would like to show you some of the cases, just a brief glimpse. When I mentioned the open code base and, for example, the semantic layer, so we were thinking about where to store the information, the metadata that could then be leveraged by different consumers. For example, the application for AI, or even just ingesting it in Snowflake. And we decided to create this metadata layer basically on top of the existing tables. And we realized that there is a dedicated feature in Snowflake related to creating a data or semantic layer, which we are exploring. And I believe that for those of you who are interested in this particular topic, we'll be hosting in some near future, hopefully, a dedicated meetup to basically share the findings, why we went this way, and what were our findings in using, let's say, Cortex Analyst and Cortex Search in Snowflake. But this is something we decided to go, at least for the moment. So we try to be really diligent in terms of creating the metadata around the tables. As for the LLMs, again, I would like to ask, how many of you use something like Cursor or Windsurf, stuff like that? A lot of you, I see. So this is not something new. I guess the same thing for the Cloud Code or different LLMs, but what might be not that familiar is Devin. Has anyone heard about Devin here? Awesome. So we, again, try to leverage it as it's a tool, basically, that allows you to walk you through a code base, and you say, for example, I have this DAG, or I have this set of tasks, and instead of doing it on your own, you can, in a natural language, write a message and ask it to basically perform certain task for you, and it is able to go through the code base if you point it to it, and it can create a merge request. And this is a really trivial thing, but you can think of it as your assistant or as an enabler for people who would be unable to develop their pipelines because they don't know the packages and stuff, but they perhaps cannot spin some Docker image, but they can describe what they need to do, if they need to add some metric, and so on. So this is something that opened a lot of opportunities for us.
And by the way, this is also useful because a lot of companies, they are trying to solve how to actually open the data to the business people, how to share the metrics, how they are developed, what is the definition of the metric. So our goal is basically we want to have all the definitions in the code, and if you are from the business team, just use the Devin in Slack, and he will describe to you actually how the metric is described. So that's basically what we want to do. Basically, anybody from the company can use it for searching the data and searching the metadata and searching what they need, or they can, as Svítek said, they can create a merge request and create new pipeline if it makes sense. Of course, the merge request, so there will always be somebody who will review if it makes sense what they are actually pulling into the code.
That's pretty much it. Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for your contribution. I have a couple of questions. Maybe we will let a couple of questions also from the public. So, first of all, I was a bit curious. So you were comparing, of course, BigQuery and Snowflake. Why not Fabric?
Or Databricks. Okay, so few months ago, I was on some meetup, and there was some guy, I think from Saska, I'm not sure if he is here, and they were, I think, also discussing that they want to change the data platform, and I think they were discussing like 3 platforms, and he said it will took them like 3 years to migrate it. So if I would say to my manager that it will took us 3 years to migrate it, I would probably be fired. And we knew that we need to migrate basically within months. So it was like, yes, there were some other options, but we were like, why do we want to make this decision to us harder? If we can just basically, option 1, continue with Snowflake, or leverage BigQuery, which would be probably somewhat similar, and it can run in GCP. But using something totally different, I don't know if we would be brave enough to actually do it, because it's very hard for us in Rohlík to find time to do this kind of stuff, like developing the infrastructure. Very often we are overwhelmed with the business priorities. So what's the easiest way, but also makes sense, is probably the best way for us.
Right, thank you. Also, I was wondering, because you were describing, of course, that this was needed to get to 500,000 orders, right? So what kind of problems did you expect to meet at scale that you did not experience since now? Like, what do you think are the breaking points where you would say, hey, without this setup, we wouldn't make it?
Yeah, well, so as I said, for us, there are some SLAs that we need to meet, and basically, when there was a point that we were basically meeting these, we had problem to meet these SLAs, and at that time I was like, okay, so we can do some optimization in Kabula. We will get some time, some more time in the pipelines, but that's probably the limit. But now with the Snowflake, I can probably run some 6x large or whatever warehouse there is, and I will be probably okay. It's gonna cost some money, but I know that I can do it basically immediately, and I don't have to wait for anybody else. I can do it on my own. So that's it. Like we don't know exactly when the 500,000 orders will came. It's of course like a big idea. So maybe it will be in 10 years, maybe never. We don't know. But now I'm much more sure that if it will come, we will have capabilities to do it.
I will perhaps add another perspective, which is, let's say, the horizontal scaling. In future, if there are like multiple warehouses, multiple countries, it's of course possible to either copy configuration files or try to do it manually, but it's not really efficient. And if you want to employ things like DuckDB, for example, to eliminate some of the steps and to do it gracefully, it's much easier to do it directly on top of Snowflake, using the, let's say, programmatic approach.
Right, thank you. So last question from me, because you mentioned probably my Medium article from last week where I was trying to do some benchmarks on Google BigQuery. And to be honest, I did not find a scenario where it possibly could be cheaper, but probably I missed something. So do you have any description of how the pricing was staged or where this 3%?
In BigQuery, it would be cheaper.
Yeah.
Like, that's one thing that wasn't mentioned, but with Snowflake, it was like we have like a clarity in what will be the cost, because I know that if I will increase the warehouse, I know that I will get some processing power, but it will be more expensive, but something that I can calculate with. With BigQuery, it was like, okay, so here is the query, it's running, it consumed some slot minutes or whatever it was, or slot milliseconds. And that's it. And I didn't know, like, okay, so what will happen if I will run this query again? Will it be the same? What will happen if we will run like 50 queries in parallel? Will it be the same? So these were like the questions that we were like not sure, like how can we control it, and how can we be sure that the cost that will be there, we will be able to control them. So that's it. One example, we actually tried with Google. We tried to use their data replication tool to basically replicate data from MySQL into BigQuery. So we ran the test for a week from one database, around 200 tables, so not everything that we have in Rohlík. And it cost us, the 1 week cost around $7,000 per the week. And we were like, okay, where are the costs coming from? And we didn't really see it, like what was actually the thing that actually consumed so much money. And we were like, okay, so this is really dangerous. With Snowflake, I think we know much more like on what levels we are and what we can expect.
Right, thank you. Maybe I will take one question or two from the public. And also, could I ask the technical team to do something with the lights so the guys can get out of the shadow? At least the two lights in the middle, if we can shade it a bit, because it's a bit like meeting a train. All right. Do I have someone from the staff with a microphone? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for a very detailed outlook into your use case. You mentioned that you were considering migration from the Snowflake to Google BigQuery, and that the initial estimate was, let's say, 2 months, and after some additional expertise, 6 months. Can you share with us what were the hidden issues, and if those issues were connected with Kabula or with Google BigQuery? Thank you.
I would say it was, because this was basically moving Snowflake code into BigQuery code, so not Kabula, not at all. But so one thing that we use quite a lot, and I'm not sure how it's actually called, but this is like this alias referencing in the select. So basically, you can create a column in the select and then use it in the same select, basically on another column. And that's something that BigQuery doesn't know how to do. And we use this a lot. So basically, that would mean that we would have to rewrite all the queries into some CT statements or whatever. And when I saw this, and actually was rewriting one of our, let's say, bigger transformations, it was like, okay, so now I have one select, everything calculated in one select, easy, and now with BigQuery I would have to rewrite it completely. So it was something that we were kind of afraid of, because we didn't know, probably with the help of AI, you could done it fairly quickly, but then you also need to do the data testing. If the data are really the same, if there are no let's say discrepancies between the original data in Snowflake and in BigQuery. So this was something that when we saw, we were like, okay, this is really dangerous, and maybe there is more. And the 6 months was basically confirmed by the external partner that was doing some migrations from Snowflake to BigQuery. So we actually believe them that if they made this estimation so big that it makes sense. So.
Right, thank you. Well, I'll take one last question if there's any. Okay. The microphone ran away, so we're losing the second.
Thank you for your presentation. I would like to ask, how do you modify or create or destroy objects in Snowflake? Do you use some tool like Terraform or something like that?
You know, like how to create tables?
How do you modify objects in Snowflake?
Well, still a lot of it is done by Kebula, but generally, yeah, now speaking of tables, that's basically done via Kebula or Airflow, because there is just create table statements. And other objects, well, users, as Vítek said, there are some procedures that automated it. And actually, that's pretty much it, because we don't do, let's say, we don't create that much procedures or stuff like that. So far, I would say, usually, it's just that we run it manually. We don't have any like Terraform deployment yet, but it's something that we would like to achieve definitely in the future, because again, all companies using it. So in terms of like opening this to the rest of the company, it would make sense that we would be using basically the same approach.
I would perhaps add that it really depends on the case. For us, most of the DDL statements are handled via Airflow at this stage, and it could be either Python code, again, triggering something on top of Snowflake, or procedures themselves, like if you want to update something, insert, merge, and so on. So if you meant this, I'm not sure. But as for the Terraform, we are definitely moving towards this direction. There are some, I would say, network-related issues on the GCP part. So when we wanted to spin the Airflow, it wasn't as easy as you would do at your account by just adding the card and bill me. So this is, let's say, in progress.
All right, thank you.
Right, thank you. So a big applause for the team of Rohlík. Right, so let's go to see the next one. I would like to welcome the CPO from Sharry, Ondřej Lang, and Jan Šulc from Revolt BI on stage.
Thank you.
Right, guys. So thank you to have you here. This lecture is going to be about LLM functions. So one question maybe just on the start. Are you two related?
No, at least that's that we know of.
So this is how we get embedded with our clients. All right, so
I have a little issue here. Not sure what's happening, but...
Okay, we're here.
Good.
Right, thank you. The stage is yours.
All right, thank you. So first, thank you all. Have a nice evening. And unlike the gentleman from Rohlík, I feel like I do need to introduce Sharry. Is anyone here who has actually heard of Sharry? Perfect, so some people, great. So Sharry is a company that is based here in Smíchov. We're about 40 people. And we help to move the world from plastic badges to digital badges. And we built an ecosystem of workplace experience app around that. Our clients are many, if not most, of the premium buildings in several areas around the world. A lot of our clients are in Prague and Central and Eastern Europe, so you may recognize some of the buildings. Some of our clients are in America, Latin America, Norway, and other parts of the world. We also, over the last 3 years, were focused on enterprise companies as well. We have some of the very interesting enterprise clients that I would love to mention here, but they wouldn't, so I can't. If you're just like myself last evening when I was trying to scramble the presentation, if you're wondering why the heck I'm talking about agents here today, is because my career went full circle. I started as a software engineering student who actually ran away because it was too technical for me. I ran away to UX, which seemed to be like a user experience, a nice field, close to technical, but not too technical. And I somehow ended up designing software for 50+ million users at AVG, which was quite a ride. I then fell in love with data, and especially the relationship between people and data at Good Data, and I pivoted into product management. And today I'm actually a wannabe AI engineer, automator, and AI thinker, besides my daily gig as a CPO at Sharry. So most of my evening's job, to be honest. I want to talk about an agent, or introduce briefly an agent that we've built internally to help us with product management tasks. So one of the struggles is there is never enough time at a startup or company of a size of Sharry. And there is a lot of manual processes involved, information management, finding out answers from multiple different places. So we actually built an agent who helps us with a lot of the how does this work question, so product related. It helps us with project client context, couple of management of different tools like product board, Jira, and so on, and who lives where we spend a lot of our days, so that's in Jira, in Slack. And actually, instead of walking you through the internals, I thought I would share how that agent in the end interacts and how it operates in the company. So a question like how can I add labels and can I filter people by labels? So a question that might not be a front place in manuals. You can actually see COO asking the question and the agent answering in Slack, sourcing the issues. Similar questions like what role does the user need to sign a data processing agreement? Very kind of a technical questions that might be hard to find from manuals. The agent actually goes into different sources. He finds product blueprints. He finds Freshdesk. In the future, he will find Freshdesk tickets, manuals, a lot of different areas, and he researches the question. So this is actually a head of engineering asking the question, who might as well ask the question his team, but he asks the agent instead. Another one, what information do we keep in the audit log? Again, a technical team asking the questions that they might figure out themselves, but it's more convenient to ask the agent. Sorry for the check here, by the way. And the agent can also do a lot of the Jira heavy lifting, so he can do the splitting tasks into specific, or epics into specific tasks here. An area that we are getting into, and that Jack or Jan will talk about, is actually the help desk tickets. Sharry has existed for around 7 years. We have collected healthy round of 100,000+ service desk tickets, and they are a great resource of information for future tickets, but it's extremely hard to get that information and draft a response based on it. So we have hit the limit here of the usual tools usage of the agent, and this is what Jan is going to talk about. So.
Okay, so how Snowflake fits into this picture? as Ondra mentioned, we are hitting the limits on the agent. We do not have the data processed, and it's pulling all the data, and it's not really stored anywhere. So we need to process the data and actually feed the data, and that's what we are going to do in Snowflake. So Sharry is a small company, and the data team is very small. And before Snowflake came up with those 250 features, it was not very simple to work with textual data. You would have your data warehouse, and if you wanted to work with textual data, you would usually need to bring it somewhere to Python, process it, put it back, and it would be slow, and you would need some specialized data scientist and data engineering effort, which we didn't have. So what are we going to do? We want to unify the data ingestion and get all the Freshdesk support tickets data into one place and process them. It has two reasons. First, we want to use the ticket data and how to support actually resolve some issues for resolving some future issues that are repeating. And also, well, another use case, we finally want to process the support tickets for some general analytics about how the support team is performing. So besides that, we want to create a knowledge hub from different sources which we have, like the support tickets, then we have our blueprints, then we have several other sources for product data, like the Jira or our wiki. And lastly, we can use this knowledge base as context for our agent, which currently doesn't live in Snowflake, but maybe it will. So once again, why Snowflake and what it allows us to do? I have one platform where I can use all the data. I can ingest my documents, all the unstructured data, as well as my structured data lives there. And I don't have to care about security pulling the data somewhere else. I have two interfaces that I'm familiar with. I've got the SQL mainly, and also Python in case I need some more advanced like programmatic stuff. And lastly, I finally got into trying all the Cortex AI built-in functions for, like, I don't know, creating embeddings, counting similarity, getting sentiment, and most of that is SQL accessed, which means it's incredibly easy to use. And I will show you that how. So it will be some quick demo with the support data, classical pipeline, ingesting the data. I will not go into much detail with that. Then processing the data, then the interesting part of very easy enrichment or also processing. And then we will create a simple search service to go over the tickets and the document. So let me jump over and hope that it didn't log off. Okay. So I wanted to first create some dummy data, but I in the end decided I don't have to. So I just took some real data and used Snowflake. I hope you can see it well. Yeah. And I needed to redact the data to make it not confidential here. So with just one simple prompt, while processing using Snowflake Cortex, I believe I got rid of all the sensitive data, like the names, phone numbers, and so on, so that we can use real data for this use case. Let me jump over here and see what is the data we are going to see. All right, just so we can see something. That didn't happen well, but generally there will be a lot of text in the subjects, and all of it will be prepared for this presentation. So if I go further, I would need to generally process and remove some phone numbers and emails, but fortunately, I got right into the last step, but that's what I would do without the AI. So then, for some of the tickets, we want to keep our knowledge base in English generally, right? It's convenient for everyone, and once again, with one simple command, Snowflake Cortex complete, translate, we can translate the tickets from any language to English. And so far, it was working quite well. And continuing with the processing, once again, the ticket data, they had some missing stuff. I mean, what can I do? I can have the AI help me again. Just one-liner, select what you want to fill in, and we can get a classification for the tickets. So then, if you want to create the whole solution and ask from the client, we also need to work with the conversation. Because in the basic ticket, you only get like the subject and the first email, what was the issue. But we also need to process the actual solution and how the support communicated with the client. So once again, I need to get the conversations, I need to make it friendly for its presentation with our reduction engine, and then I do two things. First, I create a full conversation so that I can use it later, and then I create just the client responses so that I can count the sentiment from the client responses, because people don't like to rate how you responded, and like 90% of the ratings were missing when I checked. So that's how we process the conversations, and then I was experimenting a little bit how to put the data into the knowledge base, because we were hitting the limits on the context of the agent, and that was one of the issues. So when we are processing the data, we are currently experimenting with how to pre-process the data for the actual task, so that we create some summary of what happened in the whole ticket. It's here only for the resolved tickets, but generally in a sense of, I mean, I know I should get rid of this, but you have the ask, what the customer asked for, and then some simple resolution. And this should be like enough context on how to solve the issue, but we are still experimenting with how to do this. Okay. So we have the data prepared, and then we need to actually create the knowledge base. So for this, there are few tables. I won't go much into the detail, but generally we need to ingest our blueprint. That's our main document. So it's done here. And because it's a long document, it's 160 pages, I think, or something like that, it's not very feasible to send the whole context, right? So I was also trying to get rid of some figures and process it at least a little bit. So we get rid of useless data from the document, and then we need to chunk it. So once again, in Snowflake, there are some functions that make it incredibly quick. So if the text is marked down, which is the default way, I would say, for processing documents, we can just very simply create the chunking method here, and for us, we choose 4,000 tokens with 400 tokens of overlap to keep all the necessary data. So with that, we have ingested the document into our knowledge base. We will also insert the resolved tickets into the knowledge base, and we can already, at that point, create our search service. So Snowflake has this managed search service as a rack. It's very simple to set, and you can just hit it from APIs. So with this setup, with this data, we can just ask it some questions. I have, for example, you can, how can a user be deleted? Let's run this. And I think the context it's providing, even if I look at the headers, it's quite all right. So this was like a very simple setup for some RAG, for your LLM. And let me jump back and continue from here. So there is a lot of improvements that could be done, but with this simple case, we went over just in Snowflake and mainly in SQL to create like a fairly decent RAG and data processing. Basically, all of it was done with AI and vibe coding. And sure, it could have been done better, but I think it would cost a lot of time, and if I didn't have this environment, it would definitely take way more effort. So my conclusion, I never thought that Snowflake is just a database, but I'm very glad that I finally got to use all the, or like not all the, but a lot of the functions, and it solved one of my issues where we are trying to do like a data summary of processing some data for our clients and sending like emails, but we didn't want to use like confidential data sending to OpenAI or something, right? So that's one of the use cases that we want to follow up. And as it's easy to use, I had some smaller technical limitations, but I don't know if it's a technical limitation or it's me limitation. But in the search service, I wasn't able to get like the actual score. So in case I filter to just like get 5 responses from the similarity, I don't know the score. So if nothing matches, I might just get 5 bad contexts that I wouldn't actually use. And that's it from my side.
Thank you. And a little bit of a shameless hiring pitch. We're hiring a data analyst and data engineer in Sharry. So if this sounds interesting to you and you want to work on projects like this, please reach out to me. Thank you.
All right. I wanted to say that. All right. So Ondřej, to support a bit of your shameless hiring. So I was quite kind of curious because you said that you love data quite a lot, but maybe you could enlighten us a bit what data and what kind of use cases as a product manager you're looking to have solved.
Thank you. So first, to clarify, like I know less about data than any one of you here. My love for data is mostly from the user experience background. So I became enticed with how people use data, how they consume data, about dashboard, distilling information, like that. That's my data. That said, I am responsible for data part of our product as well. So data at Sharry involves like parking, access data, a lot of the data that originates in the physical world. So one of our challenges there is, of course, the missing pieces of data, like people driving through, and I think Jack especially had some super heavy nights and days over this. But anyway, it's a real world data about the usage of commercial buildings and workspaces.
Sorry, I would just add that he's lying. He's not one of the managers to which you have to explain the data 5 times.
Thank you.
All right. Well, second, I would like to ask, because I mean, I guess that from a product perspective, like this new technical capabilities open new horizons, right? So is there like some ideas that you're especially like excited about, or where you see big potential?
There are. Overall, I think it becomes to the old question of dashboards, like people consuming dashboards. Data is something that we use for our own decisions, but also something we provide back to our clients. So we connect to the building system, we collect the data, and then we try to provide actionable insights back to them. From my perspective, like leveraging AI for this sort of analysis, like understanding what is important for a specific client and finding that data pieces, finding anomalies, finding patterns, like that, I think is a kind of a next big leap from my perspective there.
Thank you. Maybe one technical as well. To be honest, I had a project like this at McKinsey like 8 years ago, and it took a team of 5 people 3 months to get a report. And now 500 lines of code. Well,
yeah, like, okay, finishing the project that's still under construction, right? That's still under construction to productionalize it. But yeah, it's way simpler, and I'm the only person working on it, so that's the capabilities.
right. And what was the biggest surprise in terms of, like, is it reliable actually?
As I said, we are still working on like the productionalization. We have all the pieces connected, but yes, like creating the knowledge base will be pushed a little bit now, because there is also a new customers success manager, and that will be another push for us to actually create like the proper knowledge base and process way more data about the products than we currently do. So I hope that will help.
All right, as you see, honesty overall. So if you want to know about more about how to use these use cases, please contact anyone with the Revolt BI shirt. We will help you out, and in pure honesty. All right, so maybe some questions from the public. Anyone wants to ask something? Okay, that was quite exhaustive. All right, so thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'll rather take this one because, as you noticed, I'm a big fan of murdering other people's names. So I would like to invite on stage Wojciech Brestowski. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. Yeah. So Wojciech will be showing us today, I think, one of the flagship use cases that Snowflake team has done over the past half year. And actually, I'm quite excited about that. Shall I present it a bit or leave it to you?
Okay, so I believe I'm a solution engineer, so there will be less maybe beautiful slides. I will focus on the use case. As Julian mentioned, this is a use case, real life use case. And I'm happy because it's in production. This is the first thing. The second thing, the biggest competitor of my client is asking me, I want to have the same tools. Yeah, so it's working. And yeah, thank you. And
I'll leave you to it.
Okay. And last but not least, the people from Warta, because this is the client, the name of the client. This is the second biggest insurer in Poland. They starting achieving awards, yeah, as AI-driven insurance company, which is also great because the success of my client is also a bit my success. This is a QR code to my LinkedIn profile. If you have any questions, feel free, just scan, ping me. There will be a lot of new features in this area. I'm really proud that second biggest R&D center of Snowflake is in Warsaw. It's not so far from here. Why it is important? Because especially the features related to the connectors and related to the AI are built in Poland. This is SaaS, but if you have questions, what is under the hood, you can always ping me. You can always ping people from Snowflake and simply ask. And we are organizing, this is how we work with Warta. So we had something like weekly calls, and we trying to do our best to have them. And also, it was working bidirectional, so we have them and they help us to build the better product. Yeah, so Snowflake, yeah, 250 features. So it will be 251 because we just announced private preview of our integration with the company we just acquired. This is a fork of Postgres. So OLTP, not only OLAP, full OLTP workloads also possible on Snowflake from today. We are planning to have it in public preview in December. But if you want to start testing it, you can do it now. Snowflake is a place when you can keep all type of data, and excellent presentation from Rohlik. Just one comment from my side regarding the cost. Is easy, it's transparent, it's predictable. That's why my clients like it. After a first minute, you have per second billing. So even if the warehouse is more expensive, but it's much faster, you are paying for less seconds, and more expensive warehouses are cheaper at the end of the day because of this per second billing. You can keep all type of data, structured, semi-structured, unstructured, and you can have access to the external content. So there is a marketplace with the data, with data sets, and with the applications. The real life use case, yeah, the very first one we started, it is in production at the moment. So what was the challenge? So the challenge was that at the moment when we have a huge company, it's about the insurance of buildings or car fleets, for example. We have a person who is responsible for insurance. So how it is working? This person is not going directly to Varta, to PZU, to Interisk, or this person is going simply to the broker. And this broker is collecting all information, trying to anonymize it a bit, means building a huge PDF file with all the information, with total mess. There is no market standard for such document, so everybody is preparing different version of such query, and broker is going directly on behalf of the customer to the insurance companies. So huge document, multi-pages, a lot of information, etc. How it was in the past? Pure manual work, copy, paste, feed the system, the pricing engine for the policy, and after many hours of work, manual work, they received a quotation, and they making the offer and sending the offer to the broker. Broker is sending to the client. What was the market standard? I believe I have it on the next slide. Yeah. So one day, one business day, it was minimum, sometimes 2 days if it was really, really complicated. And how it is now at the moment, because we replace this manual work with the LLMs, with the RAG approach, it's 15 minutes. So usually we need something like a few minutes for the extraction, building the JSON file, and sending this JSON file to the pricing engine and go back with the offer. And we need only, because of regulations, AI Act, etc., we need to have last look of the human for the offer if everything is okay, etc. That's why it's defined as 15 minutes. Yeah, so real life example, it's in production. We started because in Snowflake you have a lot of possibilities, yeah? So you have direct access to many different LLMs, also Snowflake LLMs. Based on the experience with Varta, there is no single LLM model which is solving all issues. You need to play a bit, you need to check, and everything is important. Yeah? Starting from the proper prompt. Sometimes this is a mixture of prompting in different languages. Yeah? And you need to focus also on costs. You need to focus also on the speed, because this use case in Varta, which I mentioned before, it is fully integrated with the existing process. We just simply remove the manual work. So we have predefined timeouts. So it should be efficient. Someone says that Cortex Search is a RAG as a service. Simply speaking, that's true, yeah. So you can have something like features out of the box. It's like an automatic shift gear for majority of people. So easy, very efficient. You can quickly have the results, like yeah, in a few hours you can have a prototype of working application or agent. But in Snowflake, you can also build the solutions, and this is a Varta case, step by step, and they have started with the RAG approach, and they're doing a lot of things manually by themselves just to have a better control. Again, it's like a manual shift gear for the best drivers. Maybe it's even better and giving the better possibilities. Main message is that it's really okay to start with the built-in features. There was a discussion about Translate. Generally speaking, it supports a lot of languages, but we are focused on very few one. Czech is on the list, so with Czech we have excellent results, and it is really tested. The model was trained with Czech, and it is also the value of our local presence here. Yeah, that we are supporting local languages on our products. This is open ecosystem, and because of support of Snowpark, and someone mentioned that maybe sometimes it's harder to start with operating on the data with the Python. But yes, it is possible. We call it Snowpark. Everything is related to the snow, and it's also giving a lot of possibilities. Yeah. For example, in Varta, they start with document AI, so you have all-in-one OCR, this RAG process, everything is as a service, and it's easy to deliver very quickly the results. However, if you need to have a better control of speed, of efficiency, of costs, maybe you want to do some part of the process externally. In Varta, at the moment, they have really good results with the OCR, which they already bought before. They were happy with this, and that's why they start quickly with document AI, but they switch to the classical RAG approach, and they are using they build the process similar to Cortex Search manually. Cortex Search and Cortex Analyst. So the Cortex Analyst is for structured data. Cortex Search is for unstructured data. Let's focus maybe on Cortex Analyst. What is the difference comparing to us to the competition? We are really focused and we are really good on semantic layer, and on every query. Doesn't matter if you are building an agent or if you just building the simple application or just querying, you can put the YAML file with the which extend the semantic layer, which is stored in the Snowflake. So on the fly, you can have much better results because of better fine-tuned semantic layer. Our concept is that Snowflake is running on 3 clouds, and I will point to Rohlik speech. So it's relatively easy to move from one provider to different provider. Fully agree that some functionality is a little bit different. Why? Because simply this is the always open question. If we announcing new features which require some technology below, and some cloud providers are simply a little bit behind, we should focus on this, or maybe wait, or maybe we should start rolling out region by region when the infrastructure is ready. I'm pointing, for example, with the GPU access. Yeah? So you need to have a proper pool of GPUs, etc. So we decide to roll out region by region, and there are some small differences. But at the end, on all clouds, on all regions, you should have exactly the same functionality. It brings a benefit. I really want to discuss with you guys regarding the costs. If it is a different cloud or different region, of course, there is a network cost. I just finished the POC on the bank, so they told me that they need to calculate everything properly because they watching every part of every single penny. So we did it, and yeah, because of some special agreements with cloud providers, and we are the biggest AWS client across the globe. We are in top 10 in Microsoft, so we negotiate a little bit better prices in terms of networking. So even for our clients, these prices are a little bit are better. But fully agree, if it is cross-region or cross-cloud, yes, maybe there will be a cost, small cost related. But in Snowflake, you can have as many accounts as you want. If they are on the same region, on the same cloud provider, in the same region, you can easily share the data between the accounts, and there is no cost related to this exercise. Last part, serving apps. So you can build the applications in Snowflake. So you can simply run Python, Java, Scala, all because of containerization, absolutely any kind of technology stack, which you are able to put in the container. But you can have also Streamlit, and this is a Streamlit. This is a Python library, which is in few lines of code you can build in Python. You can build web app application, and you don't need to host it. Everything is hosted in Snowflake internally, so no issue with the access. It fully respects this Horizon policies and access lists. Of course, we are competing on some part with the cloud providers, but generally speaking, Snowflake is a solution which is running on their stack. So on some areas we are cooperating. And for example, you have a Teams logo here. So together with Microsoft, we are developing the connectors, the APIs, and the same story with Google, the same story with AWS. We can easily integrate. So if you want to do some things in areas of AI on Snowflake, we are fine with this, of course. But if you want to keep some data in Snowflake and run external LLM model, for example, from OpenAI, it is possible. Good thing is that we are progressing, we are squeezing, because if data is going outside of Snowflake, it's a bit tricky, especially for the regulated clients. They say security guys don't like it. So, for example, we convinced Microsoft that they should host the OpenAI models like Meta, like Mistral, and many, many more inside Snowflake. It's working on Azure. It's under discussion in terms of different cloud providers, of course. But still, we decided to roll out on the very first regions in Azure and discuss it further and more, and try to open for our clients from the very beginning. The quality, yeah, because I like this phrase that this is RAG as a service. I mean Cortex Search. Actually, it's quite good, yeah, comparing to the competition, comparing to the different solutions. We have a out of the box very good accuracy. And I really encourage you to use these built-in features to start, to do it on Snowflake way, very automatic, very quick, deliver the business outcomes very, very quickly. And after that, try to tune in, optimize cost, optimize speed, etc. Maybe using the manual shift gear approach. This is the best example in terms of automatic shift gear approach. Yeah, so we have Document AI, and you can build the very simple solution actually in a few hours. You need to you need a bulk of documents, yeah, like I don't know, 20, 40 maximum. You need to define what kind of data you wanna extract and put simple questions here. So you have out of the box, very easy GUI for prompt engineering, for defining the information which you wanna extract. And after that, if you collect on the very first 20 or maybe 40 documents answers, you can provide some information that the answer was okay, was not okay. Click one button because you have full set of questions and answers, correct answers, and you can tune the model. And actually, this is my message to you. The good practice is, doesn't matter if you are starting with Snowflake LLMs or Mistral or doesn't matter. It's really good to start with something big, check if it is possible, doable, etc. And after that, start with the small models and try to tune in just to have similar or maybe sometimes even better results. But on small models, less tokens, much cheaper. Yeah. And my last slide. This is the beauty of the. This is a Swiss client, similar to Varta, also from the insurance. And this is a slide from my colleague, also use case in production. So we are uploading unstructured data to Snowflake with data lake approach. Do nothing, just upload the data. We have Document AI, which is extracting the information from the document, the solution from the previous slide, very fast, very quick. Again, document the extraction as a service on working on Snowflake way. Correlation data with core policy system, with marketplace data. For example, if we are discussing about know your customer or ESG, in this case, there is a lot of ESG external databases. And because you can have everything in one single place, you can enrich the data, validate, and serve the information to agents or generate simply the reports. So you can have full end-to-end stack with external databases integrated. The integration via marketplace is extremely easy. So if you need, for example, ESG data sets to score properly the client or transaction, this is 5 clicks. Yeah? 5 clicks, and you can see on top of your databases, you can see the shared database from the marketplace, and you can query with the SQL the data. It's very, very fast and very, very easy. Just to summarize, why Snowflake? So I will, again, I'm a solution engineer, so I will call my client. Yeah, so the head of product development in Varta, Pavel Pavlik, he mentioned that he's really happy because he is able to very quickly develop and check the new ideas. Yeah, so he is able to check. There is a new model, for example. This model, like a few weeks ago, we showed that there is a Cloud Sonnet model available in Snowflake. Only one parameter in the code change, and they change Mistral. They decide after 2 weeks of testing, they decide, okay, it's even better than Mistral, which we used before. Let's switch to Cloud, and we'll use this Cloud Sonnet because the results are much better. Of course, they change a little bit also the prompts, not a lot, but still. But after 2 weeks, they can switch from one LLM to another LLM, and they decide to use it in production. It's extremely easy and extremely efficient. This is a SaaS service, again, with the local presence. So you have a possibility to ask what is under the hood. You have also the possibility to share your talks like Varta did, and we put some changes on our SaaS solutions just to be absolutely sure that it's fit to customer needs, not only to the university ideas. And last message, available on AWS, Azure, GCP, with some differences, small differences, but very small. In terms of majority of features, it's working exactly the same, and switching from one provider to another provider, it's extremely easy and brings a lot of benefits. Again, QR code to my LinkedIn profile if you have any questions or if you wanna ask something, just ping me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wojciech. Was quite exhaustive. So, there's a couple of things I wanted to ask. I was quite curious about the document AI. So, because it felt like the most difficult part, or I would expect the most difficult part of the project. So, how many documents you had to train it on?
Yeah, so just to deliver very fast the business outcome, we start with document AI, as you said, and we need something like 40 documents and 4 versions of the model, retuned model. And on the 4 versions, we reached the accuracy in 86%, which was a must to step in, because if 86%, 86% brings benefits. I mean, it's faster and cheaper than regular people. Yeah.
So like 40,000?
No, 40. 40.
Oh.
40.
All right.
Really.
Well, okay. I wanted to ask how many people had you control the training, but I guess now it's more obvious. All right, and so this probably wasn't the hardest part of the project then.
It was a problem because it was not fast enough, and it was a bit too expensive, especially that we start discussing with the retail. So incorporate every single policy is a multi-million policy. It doesn't matter what is the cost, but on the retail, every single dollar is important, and process must just be universal. So we decide change from document AI, but keep the same prompts, keep the same logic, and we decide to start with the manual RAG approach. And after many tests, we checked and we decided that Mistral is doing awesome job, and we stay with Mistral.
All right, and the last from me. So, okay, technically we probably understand it, but what did it mean business-wise? What did this bring to the client?
Yeah, so they changed the process that the answer is from 24 hours. They decreased it to 15 minutes, almost fully automated. At the moment, they have a team like 20 researchers. They don't decide to change anything on the team. They have more time for building new use cases and for different type of the insurers. So these people are focused on a different type of the insurance policies. But in the future, majority of them, because they are fully engaged, they decide to leverage the AI capabilities and start doing a little bit different things on the Varta. No one lose the job, but the outcome is that definitely there is a huge space, huge potential for the savings. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the public?
Okay, thank you very much for the real-life example that Snowflake is much more than just a cloud database, because this sentence, we heard it 3 or 4 times. I know that, you know that, Giuliano know that, everyone in this room know that. But from my experience, when I speak with a decision maker, the people who have the budget, who keep the money, who make decision or influence the decision, what data platform will be in a large company, they do not have this perception of the Snowflake. And this might be the reason why they might choose different data platform. And my question is what you as a Snowflake representative or the representatives did to explain it.
Maybe I would jump in, because we will have their commercial officer in like 5 minutes on the panel discussion. So yeah. I think
let me quickly answer. Yeah. So what we are doing in terms as a solution engineers. Yeah. So usually we are spending with our clients on MVPs, and we are spending time on meetups. You have really big meetup group in Poland. We have 700 plus users at the moment, so sometimes even it's hard to put everybody in one room. And last but not least, we have a lot of initiatives for C-level guys, like CIO.net, CDO.net, etc. A lot of discussions, and fully agree that this perception is present on the market, and we are doing our best. But the best is message from our clients. So we had Data for Breakfast in Prague, when the Czech clients are telling stories, Snowflake clients telling stories how Snowflake help. We did the same in Warsaw. So our clients are telling the stories how it help, and this is the best marketing. But I'm not a marketing officer. I'm not a salesperson such, so I can pass mic to Adam. Yeah.
All right, any other question from the public? Because if we don't, we were rushing a bit and I forgot to make a break. So please now have a break, use that alcohol. You will find it there, and we have 20 minutes before the panel discussion. Thank you.